The movie begins with a road trip between Charly and Anatole, his son, alongside their dog, towards the city plaza. He is playing music and enjoying time together after retirement from being a mafia godfather. His son notices a street performance of a goat and a singer, where he asks his father to watch and promises not to wander too far from the performers. Charly drives towards the parking lot, waiting for Anatole to return after watching the street performers. But suddenly, a van stopped at the back of his car, and a group of individuals wearing masks pointed guns at him. They open fire at him, continuously wounding him fatally and even shooting his dog at the back of the car. As soon as the gunners leave, Charly falls entirely to the ground, unable to move. A sudden flashback of being a teenager at a prison and meeting Old Timer, another mafia godfather. As the ambulance arrives, all the newscasters rush to the scene to cover the news about Charly, one of the biggest mafia godfathers, who is injured in the parking lot. Later, a phone call arrives at Zach's gunners and informs them that Charly survived. One of his henchmen alerts him about the news, while Zach gets furious and tells him that Charly will be disposed of soon after the encounter at the parking lot. That same day in the operation room, Charly remembers when he plots to kill Mr. Hernandez, the killer of his old friend, Old Timer. Zach and Martin help him prepare his equipment and escape vehicle for the assassination, while shaking hands with each other and swearing to be friends till after death. Moments after the incident, police officers and forensics clear the scene and start investigating who attacked Charly. The head of investigations is Marie Goldman, alongside her partner. She seeks revenge for her deceased husband, who is killed by Zach, one of Charly's friends. Meanwhile, Charly is discharged from the operation, where the police put him in a safe room at the hospital filled with excessive security features such as CCTVs and alarms. That equipment will be used to gather intel about the whereabouts of the other mafia bosses. Several days later, Charly can now move and speak after being in a slight coma after suffering fatal injuries. Martin arrives to bring his henchman Kareem and assures Charly that they will gather information about the gunmen and capture them individually. The doctor informs him that his right hand and arm will not function as they used to due to a nerve being hit. He may also feel numbness to that part, the doctor claims. Later that evening, a hired gunman disguises himself as a doctor at the hospital and attempts to assassinate Charly in his bed while resting. But luckily, the police anticipated this kind of scenario and kept him in a separate room where Officer Goldman was guarding his bed. The following morning, Zach arrives at the hospital guarded by his bodyguards and henchmen. He brings a flower and visits Charly to assure him that his family will be well taken care of while he is recovering from his injuries at the hospital. He then jokes about looking better than him even after being shot 22 times. He then gives Charly a photo of a patron saint with information about the gunman before leaving the hospital. While that evening, Martin visits Charly's family, provides emotional support, and takes good care of them by being the substitute father. The next day finally arrives. Charly is still in his bed as Martin and Kareem enter his room to bring him the good news. One of his subordinates caught a rat that can provide information about who attacked Charly in the parking lot. The police force tried to listen to their conversation, but Charly started moving out of his bed, leaving the room, and rode their car. The police force immediately follows the vehicle in the distance, yet Martin and Kareem spot the police following them. Kareem maneuvers the vehicle as if they are zigzagging to lose the police car. Fortunately, Kareem anticipated this kind of scenario. He ordered one of his subordinates to block the path of the police to entirely lose their trail. Minutes after the insane car chase, they finally arrive at an old warehouse where Charly's subordinate is torturing the rat that can provide information to the gunman at the parking lot. The rat immediately wets himself in the sight of Charly as if he saw a ghost. Charly assures them not to kill him if he provides them sufficient intel about who the gunmen are and who ordered them. Out of fear and intoxication, the rat spills out the names, and to Charly's surprise, he learns that Zach is the one that ordered to assassinate him at the parking lot. After hearing that Zach schemed his assassination, he orders Kareem to clean the rat and send him home, fulfilling his promise not to kill him after providing information. But Charly does not know that he will soon regret showing mercy by letting the rat free after one night. The rat informs Zach's henchmen that Charly knows who attempted his assassination and who the gunmen are. They kidnap Kareem and torture him to death before feeding him to two aggressive dogs. One of the henchmen chops off a body part of Kareem and sends it to Charly's household to send a threat that they will be back to finish what they have started. Later that morning, Mrs. Mattei, Charly's wife, receives the package of Kareem's unidentifiable body part as boxed. She screams in fear that they might be the next target, and Charly decides to fight back for the sake of his family. He sends a proper send-off towards one of his trusted henchmen, where Kareem's family mourns for the last time at the cemetery. He assures them that he will kill everyone who tortured and attacked them. As one celebrates a comrade's birthday, one mourns for the death of another, and Zach's henchmen celebrate while eating and drinking plenty of food. But Charly barges into their hideout, threatens to kill them one by one, and holds a grenade to scare the henchmen. He orders them to throw their guns and other weapons at the fish tank. He immediately shoots the birthday celebrant as he recognizes the watch of one of the shooters at the parking lot. A few days after Charly barges into the hideout, he kills one of the henchmen visiting Kareem's grave in frustration. Later on, at Zach's household, Goldman and her partner are investigating Zach and his whereabouts during the attempted assassination of Charly at the parking lot. Zach immediately attempts to bribe Goldman to work for him, but without hesitation, she declines the offer. She leaves to find more clues connecting Zach to the attempted assassination of Charly. Meanwhile, that same afternoon, Zach's henchmen ravage Charly's office and destroy all his belongings. Minutes later, Martin arrives at the office only to see a messy place and notices that the pictures of Charly's family are broken. He then rushes outside to warn Charly at his favorite spot at a nearby seashore. After some time, Martin arrives at the scene to warn Charly that he is in grave danger. But their luck runs out as the enemies are already in a position to attack. All the enemies shoot at Martin and Charly, but both avoid getting hit by the bullets. Sadly, Martin gets caught by the enemies and almost gets bitten by the enemy hounds. While some followed an escaping Charly with his motorbike. Zach's henchmen continue to follow Charly as he escapes. Still, he devises a plan where he will flee while staying hidden from the public. He outmaneuvers them all and hits a nearby police car to avoid all the trouble of fighting numerous enemies. They all pass by to see that they cannot take Charly as they will alert the police that this is a fight between mafias. The police notice that some of Zach's henchmen are dying one by one, and they immediately suspect Charly of the murder spree. Goldman then investigates the mysterious killer. Apparently, the killer uses a pistol with a silencer. Still, she notices that the gun is imprinted with Charly's fingerprint, and she immediately interrogates Charly at the precinct. She talks to him and asks about his whereabouts during the events of the killings. Still, he has no idea about the killings whatsoever. She figures out that someone is maybe using his guns to hide the actual identity of the killer. Later that evening, at Zach's son's wedding venue, Zach talks about how he values his friends and never kills anyone. Still, those are all hypocrisy as he does not cherish them but instead puts dirt on all his friends as soon as he has no use for them. Meanwhile, Charly corners Rebu, one of the henchmen that owned the dog that tortured Kareem. He sees it as an opportunity to kill him alongside some of the other henchmen that are part of the gunman that shot Charly at the parking lot. He shoots him in both feet and orders him to download all transactions of Zach to have an edge and blackmail him. But Zach notices that some of his henchmen are missing. Then, he orders some of his remaining goons to search for them. After some time, they locate Rebu's location at their old warehouse, where they don't know that Charly is interrogating him. Rebu then attempts to escape Charly, but he fails as he corners himself at the end of the warehouse. He begs for mercy, lies about having a 4-year-old daughter, and shows a doll. But Charly picks up the doll and pulls out all the packets of magic powder inside. He shoots Rebu and runs away from the warehouse to avoid getting captured. The following morning, Charly meets up with Martin and hands him a flash drive containing all of Zach's illegal transactions and possible locations of his other drug warehouses. He orders him to send it to Aurelio, another mafia godfather. He wants Martin to deliver it personally to avoid information leakage. The next day, one of Charly's henchmen fetches Anatole and Eva, his kids, from school while Goldman observes her police car from afar. Still, as soon as they leave to return home, Zach's goons shoot at the vehicle, where it immediately kills Charly's henchman and kidnaps both his son and daughter. After some time, Eva is seen at the nearby gas station full of bruises, but his son is still missing. She tells them that if Charly does not surrender, he will kill Anatole as she cries to her mother. Another day arrives, and Charly plans to send Zach a message while faking to surrender, avoid more bloodshed, and eradicate the competition with the other mafias. He then meets up with Goldman to propose a negotiation to rescue his son. He suggests faking his arrest to divert the attention of Zach and bring down his defenses for a better chance to save his son. Goldman agrees to help him, but on one condition: she asks him to stop Zach once and for all, for revenge on her fallen husband. As the police air all news about the capture of Charly, Zach orders his goons to dispose of Anatole as he has no use of him anymore due to his father being captured by the police. Meanwhile, at another warehouse, one of the henchmen orders a goon to finish the kid and to gather all the materials needed to bury the kid's body. The goon collects all the required materials, but he smacks the head of the henchman as he does not want to kill an innocent child. He attempts to free Anatole and assures him that he will be safe. But the henchman stabs his gut from the back while Anatole screams in fear. The henchman then stuffs the body of the goon and Anatole at the back of his car and immediately leaves the area to kill Anatole somewhere safer. But Charly arrives and climbs the barbed walls of the warehouse and escapes the maze-like barbed wires surrounding the warehouse itself. He notices a car attempting to escape, and he hears his kid. He decides to intentionally jump in front of the vehicle to stop it. The car crashes, and the henchman attacks Charly with his knife. Still, fortunately, Charly uses his right arm, which does not feel anything, as a shield to block all enemy attacks. He defeats him by slamming him with the car door and ending it by twisting the neck, immediately killing the enemy. He successfully recovers his son, and they leave the area to go back somewhere safer. Meanwhile, Charly decides to not run anymore and to confront Zach at his house to end it all. The following day, he successfully sneaks into Zach's house, confronts Zach, and asks him why he did all those heinous crimes. Zach then explains that their ideology does not match, where Charly wants to be a mafia that kills no one, while Zach intends to dispose of anyone who blocks his path. But as soon as they throw a hand at each other, the police arrive and capture Zach for fraud and embezzlement, and they free Charly from all the crimes that he committed. The movie ends after the chaotic event. Goldman proves that Charly is not the killer of all Zach's henchmen by making him sign a paper to confirm that his right hand is not working, explaining that the pistol has a right hand fingerprint. Meanwhile, Charly calls Martin to bring him home and talks to him about being part of the gunmen that attempted to assassinate him. But without hesitation, he forgives him as he treats him as part of his family and hugs him tightly. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.